Most excited because something that has happened over the course of the past month is that the meta in this matchup has shifted a little bit, and I'm curious if Astrea's time in Korea has kind of introduced him and infected him a little bit with that hero style of PvZ.
Yeah, that'd be really cool to see. But meanwhile, we do have the American player spawning up in the top right-hand corner, playing for Alpha Rex. It is Max Angel Astrea.
And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of 2000 Atmospheres LE, we have the Canadian Zerg player herself representing Shopify Rebellion. It is Scarlett.
So, from my time as a filthy Protoss off-racer, I can tell you this probe is just in time to block the hatch, and we do see Scarlett going straight for the third base here already, so pretty normal stuff coming out here. This is just standard these days, I believe.
It is, mate. You're a Protoss main now, puppy. You know.
True. I know that Zergs are not allowed to take their natural. That is Protoss property.
Exactly. It's one of those things where I've said this before. If a Zerg player ever takes their natural, that's a scary thing. That's like, oh my god, why did the Protoss let me do this? What is going on? It's a very uneasy feeling.
Yeah, I believe at that point the natural is the unnatural natural.
True. Just hyper paranoid about cannons at that point, mate. But yeah, so far the openers are looking fairly standard. For those wondering about that hero style of Protoss, very recently, triple Stargate Oracle into Blink Stalkers have been all the rage in Korea. Everyone has been doing it except for Zest. Zest is the only one who is very adamant to stick to his own style, but yeah, all the other notable Koreans, they've all kind of adopted hero style in some form or another.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, it is really cool to see the ZVP meta changed up, because we have to give credit where credit is due. The patch was designed to change the ZVP meta, and whether it's due to hero or whether it's due to the patch, things are a little different now. We aren't seeing super late game Skytoss versus Corrupted Viper every game anymore, which is, you know, definitely a good thing. But now that I've said that, I've probably jinxed it.
What have you done? You're like, so I've got a work call I gotta take.
Yeah, true. If this game goes more than 15 minutes, I'm out.
Something, my cat is on fire. I need to go. Things are calling. But we'll see. So far, things are looking pretty standard. We do have a Stargate opener here from Astrea. Just because it's a Stargate doesn't mean it's that new style. We can still see Void Ray play. We still do see Adept play from time to time. Adept, something that, I mean, you're quite familiar with now, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's the only thing I know how to do.
It works.
We are seeing the Adeptus being sent out for a scout. We're seeing the Void Ray start up, and once again, this doesn't really mean anything yet. This might just be to clear out that Overlord, and there are even some tricky builds that we've seen players like Zaun go for, where you have that Void Ray to start off with to clear up the vision, and then you go for some kind of like 8-gate all-in or something like that. So this really could be anything from this point, and a really good player like Astrea is going to know how to balance his range of builds by making them all look a little the same from the start.
Exactly. Like, this Void Ray just keeps your opponent guessing at this point, right? Like, what could it be? What is behind this? What's important is that Scarlett's Overlord was able to see that there was an Oracle coming out behind the Void Ray, so she should be getting prepared for this. She's well aware of it. Another very interesting adaptation from Scarlett that Astrea did scout with his Adept is that Scarlett did go for a very fast Evo chamber.
Yeah, so just getting that +1 really quickly, I would expect to see maybe some kind of Ling Flood usually with such a fast +1, so I'll be on the lookout for something to be timed with that finishing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, typically when you go for +1, it means that you're going to commit a lot more to Lings and Banelings as well, especially because you can even hit a faster +2 timing, and then your Bane Harass is that much more efficient and powerful in the mid game if we do get there. So really interesting that Scarlett is relying a lot more on her Lings and less so on like a safety Roach Warren, for example.
Yeah, and we're seeing the lair go down, double gas, the Oracle quite nicely deflected. Astrea unfortunately going to the only base with the score at it.
Yeah, a little bit unlucky there. Meanwhile, we do see 2 Adepts shade into that 3rd base, and the target fire is pretty good. A lot of drones going down here for them. 4 in total.
Yeah, 4 drones for those 2 Adepts, and like considering he's not going for any glaives or anything like that, these Adepts really, their usefulness drops off as it goes further into the game, so being able to trade them out for drones, not bad at all.
Definitely. Even gets some scouting information and confirms the timing of those gases as well at that 3rd base. So now Astrea has a lot of information going for him. He did go for a 2nd Oracle, so he has the potential to one-shot those workers, but he's more concerned with keeping that creep at bay.
Yeah, just clearing a little bit out of this, of this creep out from the center. We can see it similar to her ZVT, Scarlett's creep spread, already pretty aggressively pushing through the middle of the map. So, yeah, that's definitely going to help her out with any early pushes that might happen. And we are seeing a 3rd Oracle and Blink coming out from Astrea. So maybe a bit of a different way to go into the same kind of hero style that you were talking about.
Yeah, it's very interesting that we all started here with Void Ray first. And I do think that, again, this does kind of delay the Oracle count, but the added advantage is, again, just keeping the anonymity of your build and just keeping the Zerg player in the dark a little bit more and keeping them guessing. So a very interesting variant of it, but again, the same kind of end goal in the end. Like, these Oracles, their main objective is to clean up all of this creep. It's to protect the Stalkers from surrounds, from these Lings. A very active style, a very fresh style.
Yeah, I mean, we do already see this 4th going down at a very early time. Maybe this +1 Ling is designed actually to deny this 4th. I could see that being maybe the idea behind that.
Oh, yeah, but there's a Void Ray here, so with that consistent damage, the Lings of Scarlett don't really do too much. But again, it's more about that +2 timing, +2 already on the way for the Ling Bane. Again, for that harassment, for those run-bys, Baneling speed being thrown down as well. And Lings are typically what you want to help deal against these Stalkers, but ideally not just Lings though. The Roach Warren was still thrown down.
Yeah, we do see actually 4 Oracles here with these Stalkers, so that's going to keep these Stalkers very safe. Huge stasis trap there, very nice.
Yeah, this is really interesting from Scarlett for her to recognize the build and still just commit with nothing but Ling Bane. A lot of the Korean Zergs have been doing Roach Rav Ling Bane eventually into Lurkers. That's what they've been relying on, but Scarlett, she's thrown that out the window.
Yes, interesting, I suppose. One of the another stasis trap as well, and we are seeing the Oracles turned on, and these 4 Oracles have huge amount of DPS against these Lings, but she does manage to catch all the Stalkers. Really nice cleanup by Scarlett there.
Wow, yeah, like despite that DPS, the Oracles, they're running out of energy, and because of +1, like even though a lot of Lings are dying, their DPS is just so high that they kill the Stalkers anyway.
Yeah, this is really cool. One of the big objectives of this opener is to be able to be so greedy behind a huge amount of map control, and for Scarlett to clean up all these Stalkers, suddenly the whole complexion of this game is completely different because she's the one with map control.
Yeah, and honestly, Astrea is in a really, really scary position right now because if you notice, he hasn't taken his gases at his 3rd, he hasn't taken his gases at his 4th. We don't really rely a lot on gas because ideally, your Stalkers don't die. They slowly build up over time. It's like a snowball effect. You keep them alive because of Blink, because of your Oracles, and for so many of them to die so quickly, suddenly, like, Astrea has to stay at home. He can't be active anymore.
Yeah, I mean, this is meant to be a style of attrition and a style where you're out on the map, you can see things that are happening from the Zerg on their side of the map, giving you more time to react as well. So being in the dark like this is a really difficult position for Astrea to be in.
Yeah, exactly. And now Scarlett has the freedom to spread creep. She's even double expanding at the same time. She can do whatever the hell she wants. She still has to respect this army a little bit though, don't get me wrong. But I love that she's just going straight for Adrenal as well and just making more Lings.
We do see as well from Astrea 7 Oracles, but a huge Baneling attack coming in here from the left.
Oh my god, they bust on in. We had a full wall of gateways and the Banelings didn't even care. They still connect with those Banelings, sorry, with those workers in the end. 13 probes go down.
Yeah, and on the right side here, overwhelming as well. She just baited out the energy from the Oracles and backed off, and then once that energy has gone down a little bit, she's going back in, and we are seeing, yeah, really patient play coming out, but a lot of aggression as well from Scarlett, just taking them out.
Yeah, exactly. And behind this, I love it. She's going for that Ultra Cavern again, the more kind of standard transition from here because she has so many melee upgrades. Ultras just pair so well with this. And it's so interesting how she's abusing the fact of the limited finite energy of these oracles, that they're not really doing the job that they're supposed to be doing here and protecting these stalkers from the lings.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is something that Pig talks about a lot, actually, where the Korean meta often can be very stale, where one of them comes up with this new style and all of the rest copy the style. But the Clown Fiesta, quote-unquote, style of the American server, honestly, you will sometimes see some very unique strategies and experimentation that could end up coming up with the answer to these kind of styles.
Yeah, like this is really great. Because you were talking about it earlier, but like now all these bases are up and running. Like Scarlett has so much freedom. There's been like zero pressure for the last couple of minutes on Scarlett. It's all about Astrea defending. And now she was able to buy time for the ultras to come out. Kindness plating is finishing up. She can work on ultra speed from here. Bailing's even rolling on in. She's even got enough freedom to go for a greater spire.
Yeah, honestly, this has been very clever play coming out from Scarlett. And you can see the problem here for Astrea is he hasn't been able to wear down Scarlett at all. She's gotten to this late game, and he's stuck on more of a mid-game composition now.
Yeah, exactly. Like, just pure gateway army. No high-tech units whatsoever. Meanwhile, the Bailings are rolling on. Oh! They roll on in!
Huge connections for the Bailings there. Just cleans up the entire mineral line, even the gas probes. Oh.
Not like this. Even the gas probes, the Lings get into the main base as well. The main army of Scarlett is headed towards that triangular third base as well. There's nothing to stop the Ultras. There's no mass Sky Toss. There's no Immortals either. Stalkers are just trying to do whatever they can. They do force the Ultras back, but 26 probes went down. Ay.
Yeah, we're seeing some of the same themes that Scarlett used in a match against Vindicta, just pulling the armies this way and that way, attacking in the main, attacking the edge bases, and yeah, even this little Hero Ultra over here churning up these probes.
Yeah, the one Ultra does end up getting 7 probe kills in the end. It looks like Astrea may be able to hold on just barely, but the wave, the swarm of Zerg, okay, is going to be stopped here, is forced back for the time being. But again, looking at this army, this isn't really set up to deal with Brood Lords, mate, and that's what Scarlett is eventually working towards.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of a wasteful trade, losing a lot of Corruptors and Ultras there, but as you're saying, she is looking to hit that tech switch and go into the Broodlords.
Yeah, what's interesting is that she did just make 5 Ultras. So,
okay, I lie?
Yeah, as you said, you know, she's not maybe spending her resources as efficiently as possible. Maybe she just wants to be as aggressive right now. Maybe she's not feeling too confident to go into those Broodlords quite yet. I mean, her upgrades aren't really set up for it either. She doesn't have any of her flyer upgrades. But who needs them when you're attacking at 3 places at once? Yeah,
once again, pulling the army this way and that way. Forces a commitment all the way on the right side, while having a huge run by through the natural and the main, and we'll see her attacking the left side as well in a moment.
Yeah, exactly. Lings do hit that left side in the end. Astrea, he is trying to hold on. He does spot away that main army. He does survive, but he just lost a little bit too much, more than he could afford to lose. And Scarlett, there's no finesse here. She just keeps rebuilding Ultras. She's just gonna send wave after wave until eventually the Protoss crumbles.
Yeah, I'm a little worried here for her, actually. We are seeing some pretty good trades from Astrea. He's up 3.5 in the resources lost, and he is actually starting to take some pretty one-sided trades here.
Yeah, and Scarlett is aping a little bit. Like her bank isn't that great. She's out of gas right now, mate. Like she can't afford to keep throwing. This is a problem with Ultras. They can be good at times, but like they cost so much. They're so supply inefficient as well. And you don't want to be losing them like this.
Yeah, I love this from Astrea. He's actually done a really good job of predicting these moves. Scarlett kind of going for the same attack one too many times, and he had all the Zealots waiting there for the Ling Rumbo.
Yeah, the Zealots, they were here. They're still here, by the way. This time, Banelings are going to help support them, though, so Scarlett may be able to break on through. At the same time, she's hitting the right-hand side as well. But the Archons are here. We even have Storms. Like, this isn't going to do enough.
Yeah, huge storms, and it is really important for Scarlett here that she does start to overwhelm, and Astrea doing a great job defending.
Oh my god.
Even putting on some counter pressure.
Yeah, for the first time in a long time, he comes across the map with his Mass Oracle. Finally, they can do something. They are able to overwhelm one of those queens, but the spores are a little bit too much. The oracles are forced back. The time for the oracles has come and gone. Astrea, he's taking his gases. He is looking to switch into what looks like... Oh, actually, he's throwing down robos. Okay, maybe into something like Immortals.
Yeah, with this big commitment to ultras and it turning into really a bit of an efficiency battle for Astrea here. Maybe Immortals against the ultras is the answer.
Yeah, I'm a little bit shocked that Scarlett has not stopped making ultras. I don't know if this is the right move. We'll see. She is incorporating a couple of infestors as well, and that could switch things up, you know, whether it's with fungals, whether it's with neuroparasite as well. There is a lot of potential with those spellcasters, but I'll be honest, I'm still not convinced.
Yeah, I believe with the infestors, she'll just be looking to fungal those High Templars and take them out with Banelings, but yeah, this game is starting to look a little bit more even, isn't it?
It really is. I mean, sure, there's a Baneling run by here and 10 more workers go down, but the worker count is still looking okay here for Astrea. He's focusing a little more on that main engagement. He's even expanding aggressively towards his opponent as well. Oh, and here we go. Scarlett looks like she's going to be able to deny the space. Another Bane run by.
Yeah, Bane run by coming in big this time. 24 probes going down, and Astrea has done a really good job replacing these probes, already making 5 at a time, but yeah, at this point, being only on 5 bases for so long, he's going to be itching to go up in bases at some stage, losing a huge number of oracles there.
Ooh, yeah, nice chain fungal there in the end, catching a lot of those oracles. Meanwhile, the run-bys, they just don't stop, and that working count of Astrea has finally been taking a little bit of a dip, a little bit of a dent there. Or Archons are trying to come back to defend, but at the same time, the Ultras push in just to meet Storm.
Yeah, great defense on the right side there, but losing all those oracles is pretty big actually. Oh, and he catches the infestors. That's a huge catch there.
All 3 infestors were caught out of position. Unfortunately, 2 of them were out of energy, so they couldn't really do too much because they spent their fungals on those oracles earlier. At least Scarlett was able to get some probe damage done here at the space once again, and she's not stopping with the run-bys. This harassment is what's keeping her in this. It is what's keeping Astrea back.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are seeing Astrea's probe count has gone down a little. And at this point, the banks are getting a lot closer. Scarlett with quite an impressive gas bank now, despite all the losses.
Oh, exactly. He's been able to trade a little bit more efficiently now. Corruptors even in between the bases looking to try and caustic spray down a next site if they see an opportunity for it. Oh. And yeah, again, this is slowly kind of working for her, but again, she doesn't want to throw away too much.
Yeah, she does manage to clean up the cannons here and doesn't lose too much at the same time. A good Ling run by in the natural as well.
Yeah, this is actually forcing a lot of supply back home. Meanwhile, it looks like a couple of oracles were able to deal some drone damage across the map.
Yeah, 7 drones going down there, and Astrea does feel that he needs to push at this point, and he's got quite an impressive army.
Yeah, you know, Archons, you know, they can do quite a bit. They can tank a lot of damage. We have those storms as well. Scarlett is looking to try and surround the army there. She wants to get on top of the High Templar.
Yeah, she does catch the High Templar. The High Templar is being forced to storm themselves, but most of them survive, and these Ultras just get shredded by the Archons. And GG.
GG.
Wow.
Oh my god, I was about to say, don't worry, 5 more Ultras are on the way, Copium. GG, Astrea, the wall, mate. The way that he was able to... Again, he lost complete map control, and he was on the back foot for quite some time. But then eventually, as you were saying, Scarlett became a little bit predictable. She just kept hitting the same bases time and time again, kept just running Ling Bane Ultra into her opponents. And, yeah, maybe not thinking too far ahead enough, maybe not respecting her opponent enough. Surprising that she never made use of that Greater Spire.
Absolutely. I mean, it looked like the mid game she got everything she wanted. Her plan absolutely worked, and she had the game in the position that she wanted, but when those first few attacks didn't work, it did kind of seem like she didn't have a next step. Maybe not expecting his defense to be so impenetrable.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe in practice that ultra kind of mass harass style works. So you know, she's just accustomed to it, and she's like, at this point the Protoss just dies. But we saw that Astrea, like, he was just so well set up defensively. He never tried to push out only with his oracles, not until he finally reached that critical mass, not until he finally recognized that he could get that win did he try and go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And he did a good job for most of those games keeping those oracles, and he did go up to like almost 8 or 9 oracles. Definitely seemed like that was a bit of a reaction to the way that the game was going, and it did really help him with defending from those huge Ling run buys.
Oh boy.
Yeah. What a game.
Oof, GG, what a game. I'm a little bit in shock. I still want to praise Scarlett though, because again, I was like, she shut down. She, like, let's be real, she completely shut down that Stalker style. I was in awe, but what I was seeing, yeah, it's just the follow-up maybe needs a little bit more refinement, a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I don't know if I just haven't seen enough ZVP to see that kind of style, but it looks like she's really onto something with the Zerg way to deal with that opening. Yeah, meanwhile, so spawning up in the top left-hand corner here, having a beautiful game one. Not really getting what he wanted in the mid game, but defensive powerhouse through the late game. This is Alpha X's Astrea.
And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Berlingrad LE, we have the Canadian Zerg player herself representing Shopify Rebellion. It is Scarlett.
So coming on to Berlingrad, a little bit of a shorter map here. Would you be expecting to see something a little bit different coming out from Astrea considering that? Maybe some adepts?
It's possible. I'll be honest, when we have been able to cast Hero quite a number of times on this map, and he just does it anyway. He just, it is a little bit more difficult because if you don't have enough momentum, then the Zerg counterattack is huge. So I especially with how Scarlett is approaching this, I would be afraid if I was Astrea to go for that style again.
Yeah, very interesting there. She actually hides her drone and uses the Overlord to see when the probe moves out and manages to get her natural at the natural.
Oh, the natural. Intentional by the Zerg player. You don't see that too often. But nicely done here by Scarlett. Meanwhile, yeah, by Astrea, I do expect him to switch things up here. Even though he won in the end, I would hope that he recognizes, hold up, this Oracle Stalker style against Scarlett, she's got something figured out that the others don't. I don't know if it's the best idea to do that.
Absolutely. Like, with that mid game going the way it was, I would expect either something different, or I do know a lot of these pro players sometimes, when the opening doesn't go the way that they expected, will prefer to make small adjustments rather than completely changing the build. So maybe just looking out for that early Evo or something like that. But yeah, so far we are seeing the Adept, we're seeing the early Gas, possibly another Stargate opening.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, you talked about it before, but the Stargate opener is very versatile. Just because you go for it, it's still difficult to read what your opponent is going for, especially with that Void Ray first. So we'll see what Astrea has in store for us as he moves out with that Adept.
Yeah, we do see the Warp Gate started up early though, so a Robo first. Interesting.
Oh my god. So the Robo first is very unique. We have seen this a little bit more frequent every now and then, or a little bit more prevalent recently, I should say. What are you feeling, man? Are you feeling like Disruptor drop?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure this is always a Disruptor drop. Either that or something very, very aggressive, but usually you'd expect to see a Twilight before the Robo if it's some kind of gateway aggression or something like that. So yeah, I presume it's a Disruptor drop.
Yeah, it should be. I mean, I'll be honest, I have seen, I think Prince meme it up with a Colossus drop before.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is something I'd expect out of Prince, out of like Rebellion, someone like that.
Yeah.
And we do see the Warp Prism and a Sentry started up, so...
Interesting. No Robotics Bay yet. An extra gateway thrown down instead. So, yeah, a third gateway as well. So, no, it looks as if Astrea wants to be aggressive across the map with some vanilla gateway units.
Yeah, very interesting. I honestly have no idea what's coming in here. And this might be as well something to do with the features of this map. There is no close killer with the Overlord. So it is a little bit easier to hide what you're doing from the Zerg player.
Very true, mate. Very true. So this push, this very committed, I almost want to say all in, isn't going to hit with any kind of upgrades, whether it's Blink or anything like that. We're going to be relying on our Warp Prism to micro, and Immortals are slowly being pumped out here by Astrea. Scarlett is in the dark. She should be aware that it's not going to be a Stargate opener, but outside of that, it's really hard to read.
Yeah, absolutely. And this Warp Prism going out really early has managed to dodge all these spotter lings, and yeah, very intrigued to see what we're going to have coming in here.
Exactly. Looks like two Adepts are going to try and sneak out for the time being here, head towards that third base. No lings in position, so damage is going to be done.
Yeah, just shoos away all those drones. Good reaction times there from Scarlett. Astrea as well, managing to pick up those Adepts straight away.
Oh, exactly. He does show his hand. He does reveal his Warp Prism in the end. He has to be careful because there are a lot of Queens here. The Warp Prism already taking a little bit of hull damage, and now he has shown his hand. The Robo first is a little bit of a tell. A little bit, though, because, again, the mass Immortals being banked up at home is unexpected.
Yeah, we're seeing 4 gates. We're seeing Sentry Immortal. We're seeing 3 more gates go down and 5 more gates going down. You know what this kind of reminds me of? This looks like the parting Soul Train.
Yeah, an old school Soul Train. Let's go. You know what I see on the horizon, mate? I see Ash's new build.
True. Bringing back the Soul Train.
Oh, no.
But that Ling does actually see 4 sentries and an Immortal, and I'm pretty sure Scarlett's going to know what's up.
Oh, yeah. Now she is fully aware of what is going on. Meanwhile, she's still here across the map trying to deal with this Warp Prism. Again, the Prism taking a lot of damage. Adepts get another number of drones, but they are going to be cleaned up, and now Astrea has to make... Oh, my... I say he has to make this work. Is he looking to take a third behind this?
Yeah, maybe even just faking it out, but this has been a bit of an awkward start for Astrea. Maybe I'm reading a little bit too much into it, but sometimes when you do come up with these new builds to punish current metas and things like that, you are a little bit less practiced with them, and sometimes you don't have all the little intricacies down, but we are seeing him warp in 4 more Stalkers and a Zealot and going for a very aggressive attack here.
Yeah, here we go. Astrea, he is pushing on the indecent force fields. He does catch 2 of these Queens. As they, actually, one of them does barely manage to escape here. Ravagers are ready for this. So far, the files are being dodged, and we have more Stalkers being morphed in.
Yeah, beautiful force field, putting the freeze frame there on that Queen. And we are seeing here how crazy a timing this is. Scarlett with quite little army supply compared to Astrea here.
Yeah, she has 18 more Lings on the way. She needs them now more than ever. They're on the way. She has to buy a little bit more time. The Queens of Transfuses so far are on point. She is holding on for the time being, but she's losing a couple more Queens, but the Biles connect.
Yeah, beautiful Biles on the Zealots earlier, but these force fields are really ripping this defense apart. And he does get the base as well. I'm wondering even if there's a little bit of an overcommitment to the defense on this base with so many force fields available.
True. It's possible that Scarlett may have been able to give this up, rotate around, just send all of her workers towards the 4th base instead. As a result, she has already lost a lot of supply, and Astrea, he's starting to snowball a little bit. Like, these Immortals, they just don't die.
Yeah, Astrea's done a really good job preserving his supply as well, but you can see this is so all in from Astrea. There's no third on the way. The money is very low, and yeah, he's gonna have to not just do damage with this, but probably kill.
Yeah, and he's also playing this very carefully, surprisingly. Like, he doesn't try to brute force his way up the ramp. He rotates around towards the linear 3rd base or the vertical 3rd base instead. So again, he's playing this very carefully, and this Ravager count is surprisingly high.
Yeah, the splits are good, but these Biles are fantastic coming out from Scarlett. Already seeing a lot of these sentries down in orange health. She is like really going after these sentries with the Biles, and big wraparound coming in here.
Exactly. Lings do get behind the army. The force fields are keeping a lot of these Ravagers at bay. The base has fallen, and so far, it looks like the Immortals are trying to survive, but Scarlett's trying to focus them down.
Yeah, good micro here from Astrea as well. Hasn't lost any of the Immortals here. Beautiful splits coming out, and you do see in these fights like this, it can look very close for a while for the Zerg, and then the Immortals just start chunking through the roaches.
Exactly. Once the buffer is gone, then the Immortals go to town. Meanwhile, just barely Astrea is able to keep that 3rd Immortal alive. Astrea is gaining ground here, finally pushing up this ramp. Takes a couple of Biles to the face, but he is diving on top of those Ravagers.
Yeah, lovely Warp Prism micro, and Astrea smells blood here, really pushing in. And We are seeing all these drones going down. We're seeing the force fields zoning out these Ravagers, and I think this might be the end.
Wow. GG, well played. Astrea takes the series 2-0 with a very unorthodox 2-base all-in with a Robo first.
That was a really cool build, something very different coming out from Astrea there. And I think maybe trying to abuse the fact that Scarlett is a little bit more greedy in the openings than some other Zerg players. And yeah, beautifully done there.
Yeah. I as you were saying, I do think that she didn't join up. She had like maybe 53 workers. To be fair, she actually had more than that because she was losing drones due to the adepts. So maybe droning up a little bit too much, but also maybe being a little bit too willing to defend that initial push there, where she did lose a lot. I think she lost maybe all of her queens in that initial push, and after that, I thought that Astrea was taking too long. I was like, mate, you're on the time. You gotta go, mate. You gotta go. But like because he had killed all the spellcasters, like yeah, he could kind of take his time a little bit, you know, slow, methodical. He just kind of clinically like cut through the army, and that was impressive.
Yeah, true. And we did see as he was fighting that base as well, not only getting the base, which puts Scarlett on a bit more of a timer, but also shaving off all these queens and Ravagers. Yeah. That fight where Scarlett got this around, that was still pretty close. So obviously all those little things added up.
Oh yeah, it really did. And even though Scarlett did get that surround, and even though she was trying to bile her best, like the control from Astrea was on point. And as a result, Scarlett gets knocked down to that lower bracket, and Astrea moves on to a qualifying match.